get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right? And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down.
Well, hi there, Kneecaps Nation. Phil and I are back with you again for another exciting edition of Kneecaps for Breakfast. Vince Progar, that's me. Happy to be joined, as always, by my longtime partner in crime, Phil Byrne. And Phil, it's the end of March, so we're finally starting to come out of this hibernation that we've all been in for the last, 90, 100 plus days. But springtime is getting ever so closer to us.
We've had some days in the 50s. We've had some days in the 20s. We've had some days with rain. We've had some days with snow. We've had some days with sleet.
How everybody's not absolutely sick right now is just a mystery to me.
Yeah, it's a good time of year to be running a CVS or a Walgreens or something like that and getting people with the flu medicine and whatnot.
Let me tell you, I mean, I keep getting these text messages, these text notifications probably twice a day from our son's daycare saying, oh, we got influenza A going around in the toddler room. Oh, we've got pink eye going around in the young school age kids room. It's like, just make it stop already. I want 80-degree days constantly to where all that crap just gets burned off by Mother Nature and the sun, and we can all just go about and enjoy our summers. But we have a little way to go before we get to that point, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And hopefully the topic that we're going to talk about will kind of inspire some brighter days, some warmer weather, perhaps. Going to be talking a little bit more on the draft this week. So
it's hard to believe, Phil, that's like less than a month away at this point.
We're kind of getting into that time of year too. And I think, Vince, I think we can kind of both agree. I think free agency has kind of come and went here a little bit. The Lions have addressed a couple more, additions and things that we can kind of address more in the weeks coming, past this week. But kind of a month out, I think is kind of a good stopping point to at least examine where the Lions are picking, some of the names that are going to be rumored there. And that tasty burger chain that is extremely overpriced, but very, very delicious. We got 5 guys for you.
I've got 5 guys for you, said Phil Byrne himself. So we will get to that. We teased you for an entire week's worth. We will get to that. I do want to officially kind of, for the time being, tie a little bow on the free agency period and then just kind of set that off to the side until further notice. So I think the Lions went the whole time since we've talked last, leaving things well enough alone on the offense. So really nothing to discuss as far as what they've done on offense since we've last spoken. The Lions have, however, brought back Rock Ya-Sin, which isn't a huge surprise because they need help in the absolute worst way in the corners room. He wasn't going to demand a whole heck of a lot of money. It's a pretty low-risk situation at this point. I think we kind of found out the hard way what happens when you rely upon him for big-time minutes, big-time assignments against big-time receivers. He just isn't up to the challenge more often than not, but such is life. When you don't have anybody else to turn to, you kind of got to have at least one other familiar face in the room besides whatever's left of DJ Reed at this point. And again, for what reason, I'll never understand, the Lions decided to once again bring back Levi Onwuzurike for another go around the sun. So, I mean, is there anything left of this guy as a football player yet, Phil, or is he pretty much skin and bones and flab at this point?
Who is that? I felt like there was some guy in early to mid aughts to maybe the teens. Was it Corey Redding? I don't know. There's some guy the Lions
Corey Redding reset.
Was
nice.
Constantly on a 1-year deal with the Lions, and just somehow it was the inevitable that he just kind of came back with the team.
He's on the Don Muhlbach contract or something.
Yeah.
The long
Yeah,
snapper has a 1 year rolling contract for the rest of his life until he just feels like he's done with football or something.
yeah, it's wild, but yeah, he's back.
What's the
Again, will
what's the
he even
benefit to
play?
that?
You know,
Yeah, what's the benefit to committing any type of financial capital whatsoever to a guy like that who's been a not just a net neutral, he's basically been a net negative for the last how many years now? Because I think he
yeah.
goes back to wasn't he final year under Quintricia? I don't think he was first year under Holmes. Am I correct
No,
on that?
no. So he actually he was the first year under Holmes
Okay.
because he was in the he
Oh,
was our
see,
second round
he
pick
was a
when we
second round
got
pick after
Penix.
Sewell. Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep. Okay,
yep.
I'm seeing you now. So that's right, because Tease Tabor was second round pick under Quintricia. Oh, this
And I
franchise
thought he was
is.
going to be good because
Uh,
I covered him to an extent, but
hey, let me
that's what
let
happens.
me tell
Hey,
you,
that's what
Vinny.
happens when you draft a cornerback that can't run a 40
I,
yard dash
I
time under 4.9.
I think back to those conversations from all that years back. Hey, Vinny, just trust me on this. There's this guy out of UF. His name's Tease Tabor. Don't tease me, bro.
Oh
Watch
boy.
out. Oh, yeah.
It
Yeah.
ain't don't tase me, bro. It's don't tease me, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting
And
way
all
off
he
topic.
was a big tease. But in any case, Anzarike coming back. So that basically gives us a situation where it's like, okay, we've still done nothing to address the defensive line outside of Anzaworke, who, again, we said is basically a net negative at this point. Until the Lions went out and picked up a guy off the scrap heap by the name of Peyton Turner, who, stop me if you've heard any of this before, former first round pick by way of the New Orleans Saints, edge rusher, severely injury prone, has played in a grand total of 31 games over a 5 year sample size. So you're probably looking at what? I'm doing quick math in my head, about 80 possible games he's played in 31. So, one out of every two games plus he misses. And he's rang up checks notes, 5 sacks over that time frame. And the Lions decided to bring him into the edge rush room for 2026. So I ask you again, Phil, have you heard this type of player before? Anything ring a bell to you?
So I followed the draft pretty extensively, and I, honest to God, completely forgot about this guy. He was a first round pick. He was after when the Lions picked.
As was Marcus Davenport.
Yep. I will say though, I think he is getting signed into a depth role because I think the Lions, DJ Wanham, who they brought over from Carolina,
That was
they
going to be
really
my
love the
next. That was going
Carolina
to be my
Panthers.
next one. Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he's not going to have to hopefully play nor expect, but I don't know what you have, even from an ability standpoint, and two guys that just seem like they're always hurt. Like, does I don't know.
Put
Like, it's
yourself
it's
in.
not it's not even like are they going to be good? It's just like, what's the point in signing guys if they're only playing 30% of their potential games? You know.
So put yourself into Brad Holmes's mind here. What does he think he's getting by picking up a Marcus Davenport or a Marcus Davenport Jr. or whatever the case may be? What's the sex appeal to something like this?
I think the idea is that you think the ability is going to outshine um, the downside for an injury concern, this, that, or the other thing. And I think we've talked about it at length, but just like the Lions playing surface and medical team, like, I just think there is some sort of connective tissue there that the Lions always have, kind of a league high of injuries. And I just don't think like rolling the dice on a guy that's just always hurt, because at one point in time he had first round talent, is like I think you're better off just getting guys on the cheap that maybe were playing more special teams, than a guy like this. But we'll see. I also feel like if they don't work out and they get hurt again, you can just cut them in training camp. But it's a 1 year deal.
But what's our end game, though? I mean, isn't our end game to win football games, win divisions, make playoffs, hang banners? It just seems kind of like, okay, we're just trying to do this as cheaply as possible here. We're going coupon hunting and thrift store
Yeah,
shopping and everything like that with no real
yeah.
end game. I mean, you brought up DJ Wanham a few minutes ago. Okay, what's DJ Wanham been the last, again, 5 years? Hurt for half of it. I think he got hurt against us in 2023, and he really
hmm
hasn't been himself since. So we're putting blind faith in the fact that, hey, this DJ Wanham guy is going to just explode out of nowhere. We have no concrete evidence that this is actually going to happen, but we've got this blind faith that it's going to happen, and we're paying him cans of pop to be here in Detroit. So look at us. Look how smart we are. We're paying this guy in food stamps,
Fago and food stamps.
bingo
Let's
and food
go.
stamps. It just doesn't.
Uh,
None of it makes sense.
I I think Wanham is going to be the starter opposite Hutch,
But is it
and
because he's the starter because he's good enough to be the starter, or because there's nobody else? It's like you're standing in the final scene of Fresh Prince. There, I mean, there's the room's empty.
uh,
There's nobody there.
you're making good analogies here tonight. I do appreciate that. It's like a Family Guy
Phil,
episode,
it's
where
Phil. It's
you're
like
getting the
35
you're getting the
degrees
hits.
outside. I got to give
Yeah,
us
yeah,
something.
yeah. So, um, I think we're going to get more out of him than we would Marcus Davenport or one of these guys. I think the expectations are just so freaking low on the other defensive end spot,
But
which
why? It makes
really,
zero
really, yeah,
sense.
it really bugs me too because okay, so we lose Alex Anzalone. At one point in time, had we kept Anzalone, the idea was Calvin Shepard, the way he was going to have pressure applied was basically using Derek Barnes almost as like a pass rush end kind of edge outside linebacker type, where on a third down or something, he will be brought, as a guy blitzing. And we've seen that be effective here and there. I mean, not really like, on a consistent basis or anything. Um, to me, it just seems like that's not the way that the Lions want to put that defense together. And I guess shame on us if we had expectations that, okay, we restructured Jared Goff's deal, that we were going to go ahead and make a deal for Max Crosby or, some person that was at least in like that Pro Bowl kind of caliber sphere. And clearly that's not how they want to build this. Or if they're going to do it, it's going to be through the draft and not through free agency or even a trade. So that's
And
where we
name
are,
me the
Vince.
last team to win a Super Bowl that did it strictly homegrown or bust. I'll hang up and listen. Yeah,
San
exactly.
Francisco 49ers in the 80s? I don't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah,
don't have an answer for you there because I don't think it has been done, Vince.
yeah, exactly. So again, Brad's gonna. I said this last week. Brad's either gonna come out looking like the smartest kid on the block or the biggest butthead in the league. One of the two. And I got my hunch which one it's gonna be. But hey, they don't pay me the big bucks to make any decisions, so I'll just hang back and keep doing a weekly podcast. The old saying, those who can do, those who can't do a podcast. Yeah, I guess
Oh,
that's
I
where
thought it
we're
was
at.
Teach
So,
Jim from
yeah,
School of Rock, but yeah,
yeah, something like that. All right.
good analogy.
So that's all I've got, Phil. I mean, since last week, those are the upgrades to the defense, and I think that's going to be pretty much it as far as bringing in somebody from the outside, not including the draft, until probably roster cutdowns. You're probably going to get these people, these veterans that don't want to partake in OTAs that are going to take the summer off, and then they'll probably suddenly come available later in training camp or something like that. But other than that, this is what we're
So
looking at up until draft time.
I think we need to get our expectations away from the Max Crosby's of the world.
I've given up
And
on that.
until he signs somewhere, as a Lions fan, I am still keeping hope out. Even though he is not young, he is no spring chicken. Yes, we signed DJ Wanham, but that we're going to try to go make a play for Cam Jordan as we get closer to training camp.
I will take Cam Jordan, honestly.
So
I still
think
believe
he's the
Wanham
fish
is
that is out there for us to get. We'll see.
I will take Cam Jordan. I still believe Wanham is depth, and I understand that injuries have ravaged this defense so much to where your depth has become your starters. I get that, but I don't think that it can't be. Maybe this is me being in denial as a Lions fan and supporter here, but I have a really hard time believing in my heart of hearts that DJ Wanham was brought over here to be the guy on the other side of Hutchinson. Could be wrong. I know Brad loves his often injured guys on dirt cheap contracts with very, very limited term, but again, maybe I'm just in complete denial here. But so again, that's all I've got for you, Phil, as far as what the Lions have done from the outside. And now we move on to what arguably Brad collectively has done best in his time here. I think it's been no confusion that first draft, second draft, third draft have been, by and large, dynamite. The last two drafts, to basically not come up with a better word because of time constraints here, sucked. So that's where we're at. Phil, you teased it last week as well as at the start of the show. You've got 5 guys that you think the Lions should give a good, hard, long, solid look at as we are pretty much inside a month to go before NFL Draft 2026 takes place in the great city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So, Phil, the floor is yours, my friend. What are you thinking?
Okay, so let me get a couple of kind of disclaimers out of the way first here. The way that I have set this up, I wouldn't necessarily say like these are like my favorite prospects in the draft, nor do I think like guys that are going to be like surefire Pro Bowlers. So it's not like my favorite. It's not like a gem. It's not like a guy that we can go ahead and get in the third or fourth round or anything like that.
So you're thinking like, are these best available? Are these best fits for the Lions organization?
So what I'm thinking here is basically 5 guys to go ahead and keep an eye on if the Lions are staying at pick 17. So no trade up.
Gotcha.
No trade down. 5 names to keep out for. And we'll kind of go from there. So we'll give a little bit of information on like each of these guys. I don't have like a full blown stat breakdown or anything, but like
it's probably too early for that anyway.
Yeah. So like as we get closer to the draft, I think these are going to be like 5 names that as a Lions fan about where we're thinking we start seeing the mock drafts. We're going to start seeing these guys' names come up time and time again. So pretty easy exercise here that I've got. So we'll give you the 5 guys. No particular order. Basically the order that I'm going to give you in, it's not like from like a 5 to 1. I just kind of have 2 sets of positions that we're going to look in. So, again, we talked about where the Lions are at free agency, what the direction of the team seems to be, where their needs are going to be at. The way that I think the Lions approach the draft, now it seems like they've always had maybe their board filled out, from 1 to whatever. You got your quarterbacks in there. You got your positions of it really doesn't impact the Lions one way or the other. Like, I can't imagine them taking a receiver. I can't imagine them taking a running back. I can't imagine them taking.
You sure about that?
Nice. But no, like it just at 17, it would be very, very strange. Um, Quarterbacks aren't good enough this year. Receivers, I don't think we want to
They're
go
a dime
down
a
the
dozen.
Matt
You
Millen
can get them
path.
anywhere.
Running back, I would say, yeah, maybe, but again, that I don't know. So, anyways, that being said, I think the way that we as Lions fans need to approach this is basically there are two doors for the Lions to look at pick 17, if they're, to use the phrase, sticking and picking. um, and that's basically going to be offensive tackle and defensive end. Offensive tackle and defensive end. So basically, that is both a high paid position. It is one that I don't think the Lions have addressed well enough in free agency with the additions that they have brought in. We've had a tackle signed, and we've had a couple defensive ends signed. Vince, we've talked about it at length. I'm not comfortable with the guy we brought in as being our starting left tackle.
No.
And also, I'm not comfortable with the guys we brought in being the other starter opposite of Aiden Hutchinson.
Nope.
Want him? You can talk me into
if everybody ahead of him dies and
ways.
you have to play him, then so
Yeah.
be it. Yes. Would I play DJ Wanham over Anzarike? Yeah, probably. But that's where it ends for me.
Okay, so let's start this exercise. As I'm doing this, I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. I got 4 guys from the SEC and 1 guy from the ACC. So no one coming out of Big Ten country.
Nobody coming out of British Columbia that nobody's ever heard of before. That
Correct.
even Mel Kiper was you could see his brain backfiring on live TV.
Todd. But here we go. We're gonna start. The guy whose name I have continued to see kind of rumored or bandied about with the Lions at pick 17, a guy that I don't think has, in the mock drafts that I have seen, get picked higher than 17, kind of more in the 17 to 25 range. So if the Lions don't take him at 17, he's going to be a first round pick. He's going to go. He's my one guy I don't have from the ACC. It is Blake Miller, an offensive tackle out of Clemson. What he has is he kind of has a game that, let me get some information on him really quick. I'm just bouncing from my list.
Now, while you're pulling that up, Phil, are you drafting him to be your left tackle of the future? Are you drafting him to play at right tackle when Penei Sewell inevitably jumps over left tackle? What is your vision for this pick?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. In an ideal sense, I would go ahead and slot him over at right tackle, and I would move Penei Sewell over. I think you are paying him way too much to stay at the right tackle spot.
We're simpatico on that one.
Penei Sewell could still be the absolute top left tackle in football. It may not be the easiest transition for the first half of the year, but I think we all have full slate of confidence in Penei Sewell here. So,
yeah.
Let me see. Where's my Blake Miller stuff? Okay. So, what we get with him, he is kind of a plug and play starter. He is very experienced with Clemson. He is a multi-year starter, so he's not just got like 1 year of starts and maybe one of the bigger programs around there. Clemson, they didn't bring a lot of guys in the transfer portal, if you're familiar with the Clemson program. So he's a guy that was kind of able to get reps. He stood out very, very early with Clemson, being a 4 or 5 star recruit with them, and really just played for a long time. So he's not the most athletic guy, but basically he has the great length that you look for. And again, we're not talking about sky high expectations. We're not penciling him in as a rookie playing left tackle. We're penciling him as a rookie playing right tackle. So he's not protecting Jared's blind side. But he, of all the tackles that I'm going to list, is probably the most experienced, and I would probably say like the lowest floor, maybe not the highest ceiling, but like you're going to get a bona fide guy that should be your starting right tackle for a minimum of 5 years.
So
Like
he
I
can.
think you can feel pretty good about
So
that.
he tracks as a guy that's going to be able to step in day one and be
Yes.
your starting right tackle. That's what we're looking for.
Yep.
Amen.
Yep. And he's got the starting experience you look for. And I know Clemson hasn't been terrific, but um, they play in the ACC. I think their schedule is still pretty good. Um, Again, not going to be the athletic dynamo that necessarily you would want over on the left hand side, being the blind side protector. But I think he's got enough traits. I think he's got enough athleticism and length to get the job done there. So that's one. The next guy we're gonna mention. So with that offensive line spot, I think there's still a lot of question marks. We probably feel okay about the center position with the free agent acquisitions the Lions made. Penei Sewell, where do we keep him at? Do we right side, left side, like we just said? The next guy's going to give us a little bit of versatility. He is a big old boy, and he played in the SEC over in Alabama. So the next name I'm going to give you is going to be Caden Proctor
Yep.
from the Alabama Crimson Tide. Some people believe he can be a tackle. Some people believe he is strong enough in the run game to actually just go ahead and bounce inside. So I don't think he has the pass protection qualities that you would look for. Certainly not on the left hand side that you would need. So without a doubt, he would have to go play the right side. But if you don't want to do that right away, you have a guy that I think has higher plug and play capability than Tate Ratledge at guard. So I think you're getting a better player right away with Caden Proctor. He is really, really big. Here's his measurables: 6 feet, 6 and 5/8 inches, 325 pounds. He has 34-inch arms, if that's your thing, and he is slow. I mean, he runs a 5.21 40, but he is a big boy, so he is going to take up some space. Ideally, if you move Penei Sewell over to that left side, this type of draft pick or name, why you want to keep in mind, is not for the pass protection side, but think about what we did at the center spot, where we brought in a guy that's going to be a little bit stronger. Um,
I
in
think they're
pass
kind of that.
protection.
They kind of got that yin and yang thing going between the two
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, and I think he is going to be a massive upgrade in the run blocking department. So this is one that wouldn't. I mean, he would still help Jared Goff, but I think it's Jameer Gibbs that would be the beneficiary of getting a fellow Crimson Tide
Oh, sure,
player in there.
absolutely. And Caden Proctor is a guy that maybe somebody not quite the average football fan, but maybe a slightly above average football fan has heard of.
Yeah. Yep.
Caden Proctor has made the rounds. He's been around. He's been in a lot of big games in his career. Tracks to be a guy that the Lions would be interested in.
Yep. And so those are probably the top two out of the five that I've seen some mock drafts kind of circle around the Lions in. So I would probably say those are the top two of the five that I keep an eye in.
Okay.
One guy that we want to also kind of keep in mind here, I would say of the three, he is probably going to be the most athletic, but also the most unproven. He is also a offensive tackle. His name is Monroe Freeling. So if you got a feeling, it's going to be Monroe Freeling as an offensive tackle
Is
to
that
keep an
night
eye
going to
out
be a
for.
good night if the Lions draft Monroe Freeling in the first round of the draft?
So he is out of Georgia. So he only really has a handful of starts. We're looking at about 18 career starts. So not full 2 years length. I mean, consider the starts that Georgia has also accumulated playing in these college football playoff games over the last couple of years as well. So little under 2 years as a starter. Um, his tape isn't always the best. So I would say of these three guys, he has probably the lowest floor, highest ceiling. The athleticism is where he starts to stand out. And he's one that, like, if you believe in your coaches, you would actually maybe buy into the fact that this guy should actually be the pick at 17 over the two other tackles who have the experience or they have the traits to help out the run game or things like that. Um, because a lot of people think that even though you've got um, Francis Mauiaga out of Miami, or you got Spencer Fano out of Utah as top 10 guys, that 5 years from now, we could be looking at Monroe Freeling as the top offensive tackle. Now, of course, if you're a Lions fan, you follow the draft, you know how that song and dance goes.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, the guy who is the most talented or could be the most talented player in the next 5 years, they could be spending 4 out of those 5 years working at Home Depot.
Correct.
Right, if they don't pan out. So that's kind of the issue you got there. I think his inconsistent tape, I think the lack of experience, or maybe not like great experience. I think there's some things that we want to come out, but he is another big guy. He is a little slimmer than Caden Proctor, but he is also taller than Caden Proctor. He is 6'7", about 6'7.5", 315 pounds. And then basically he got really, really good testing out of the NFL Combine. So that athleticism is what's going to set him apart. 6'7", 315 pounds. I mean, that's really close to like prototype. But again, like, it's really the tape is what, if you believe in Hank Fraley and development, he could be the guy, but is it going to be better at the end of the day than the other two? We'll
Well,
see.
and that also brings to light the debate of, are we trying to use this draft pick to help us win a Super Bowl right now, or are we trying to future-proof this thing and set us up for the back half of the 2020s and beyond?
Yeah. Quite frankly, I'll just say it right now. Like, if we need a guy to come in and make a big difference from day one, I'm probably going Caden Proctor
I
because
agree.
of, I think, what he would do in the run game. And it's not like he's a liability in the pass game. He's big, so we'll just kind of go from there. So those are the three offensive tackles that I want to keep kind of an eye on here. The two other guys are going to be on the defensive line. They are both defensive ends. So they're going to be guys that you can line up on the other side of Hutch. And listen, I think it's going to be offensive tackle. But, as a Lions fan like you, Vince, we've been calling out, like, when are we finally going to address that other defensive end spot? So the first guy that I'm going to go ahead and give you the name of has really good size. He has really good length, and he has really good athleticism. He's very, very young. He's extremely talented. He is also out of an SEC school. I'm going to go ahead and give you Keldrick Falk. Keldrick Falk out of the University of Auburn, or Auburn University. Auburn
Yep, Auburn
University.
University. Yep.
And it's kind of the comparisons that we have seen with him. If you liked Rashawn Gary over the years, if you liked Eric Armstead over the years, where they don't have like the prototypical look, but it's just like everything blends together and they can become an absolute force. So where we start getting into issues with is very much like Monroe Freeling. It's like they pop on tape because of how big they look, or just a very fluid athlete. But where he really struggles is in the pass rush repertoire. Okay. So it's like he does not have the Aiden Hutchinson or the Max Crosby move set to like shed blockers, to get off blocks, to be the disruptor that he should be. So when you talk about a guy that's like under the age of 21, but he shows it, some of it could just be he hasn't had the coaching. Okay. So again, we talk about a guy that should be or has the potential to be all world. Imagine that potential. If we can't pay out in free agency or we can't go get someone in a trade, I think you got enough athleticism with this guy that even just working a training camp, if they go ahead and have this guy under Aiden Hutchinson's wing, like he should be able to develop that, right? So if you want another pass rusher, this would be the first guy that I would go ahead and recommend. So again, really good pro comps and everything like that. Um, so again, a little bit more developmental, but I think he's going to be pretty good over time.
No, this is great so far, Phil. Excellent job so far with the first 4 guys. You got one more guy for us, so bring her on home.
All right, and the fifth and final name, we're going to stay at that defensive end spot. I think he's also a guy that has a lot of athleticism going in his favor. I think he has a high end motor that I think would work well with this team. He's a name that may actually be somewhat familiar, or a name that local fans have heard of before, and that is going to be Zion Young of Missouri football fame, who at one point in time was a Michigan State Spartan. He was one of the Spartans that I believe got into that locker room fight or fight at
Yeah.
Michigan Stadium in the
Yeah.
hallway there. And then he's also had another off the field issue involving I believe it was a misdemeanor DUI or something like that was in December. So
So the Lions
plenty
don't have a demonstrated track record of going after guys with questionable character to this extent. So what about this guy is kind of sticking out to you otherwise?
because he plays with a lot of the same tenacity, motor, whatever your kind of effort word describing a defensive end that Aiden Hutchinson plays with. That part he'd absolutely fits in with. He's got good size, and he's been rumored around 17. I'm going to throw him out there because I think he wouldn't go ahead of 17. But if the Lions decided to trade down a little bit in that first round, maybe there's a quarterback or, some sort of skill position player that someone would be willing to trade up. I think you get Zion Young anywhere between 17 and kind of the end of the first round there. So I think he'll be there. The off the field stuff's a little concerning, right? Those are things that you definitely have to question some of the decision making because those are two things that were definitely in his control that he let get out of control. Um, we don't see the interviews, that take part at the NFL Combine or any sort of the self scout when you can bring people in for visits. So that's the stuff that we don't know. The football side of it, I think he would actually fit the other side of Aiden Hutchinson like a glove, though. I think he's exactly what you would be looking for on the other side. So, you know, I don't know. I feel like the Lions are at a point, there were some red flags surrounding Jameson Williams and things like that. Are we at a point to get away from the locker room stuff or kind of how they do roster construction? I'd say probably not. But I think the upside is good there. Now his statistics from just like a sack standpoint could have been a little bit better at Missouri. Um, but I think he would fit the defense really well.
And I think Brad tends to care a little bit less about what the stat sheet says and does care more about motor and grit and tough guy and
Yeah.
football dude and this and that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, those are definitely qualities that I think Brad and Dan, you know, think trump just about everything else. So
Absolutely. So that's 3 guys on the offensive line. That is 2 guys on the defensive line. So I think we're both in pretty much agreement that they're going to have to do one of those two at some point in the first, whether it's in the first round or the second round. I think it's got to be one of those two, because then they don't get that third round pick. And then at that point, you hope you're looking for just depth pieces instead of drafting for need in those later rounds. And watch, we're both going to be wrong, and they go safety and running back, and they're 1 and 2, and then we both look like jackasses.
They trade up and go get Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State, and we're both completely perplexed. We're like, okay, well, he's going to be good.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Whatever. So good stuff. And obviously, Phil, you and I have been doing this for the better part of the last 20 years over various iterations, and the draft has always kind of been your thing, and you've always done a phenomenal job with breaking down different guys and filling needs and everything like that. It's really something that's of definitely a good talent that you have, is kind of just really sticking your teeth into the draft. And I'm glad that you are part of this podcast to be able to kind of show Lions Nation all over, just what some of those options are as we head into the 2026 draft.
Well, I appreciate that, Vince. There's a lot of people that are a lot better than me, spend a lot more time doing it, and certainly get paid a lot more money to be doing it other than us just chatting about it on this podcast. But yeah, it's an exciting part for Lions fans. For a long time, that was really the only thing we had to look forward to. Let's not return to those days. Sunnier days, hopefully, ahead for us.
Absolutely. So we will leave you with that here on this episode of Kneecaps for Breakfast. Hard to believe, once again, the draft is only about a month away. So Phil and I will be getting more into the draft than this as we start to move forward. But glad you're along for the journey, and we hope to see you back here next week on Kneecaps for Breakfast. For Phil Byrne across the way, Vince Progar saying good morning, go Lions, forward down the field, over and out.